Hello, everyone. We are so thrilled that you can join us. We have an exciting event planned for you tonight. If you are looking for Willie Garson and Nia Vardalos, you have come to the right place. They are just backstage and they're going to join us in a couple of minutes, and they're going to have a conversation about their journey adopting from foster care. But before we dive in, I would like to take some time to thank our presenting sponsor, Charter Communications. I'd also like to thank A&E Networks, Carlson Resources, and Neuberger Berman for making this event possible. I'm Jennifer Pinder. I am the Executive Director of You Gotta Believe. And as an adoptee, our mission is deeply personal to me. We have always been about the transformative value of love and family. And, right now is a really hard time. We've been in existence for 25 years, and this is probably one of the most challenging years for us and for everybody, for obvious reasons. And we are in the midst of the pandemic, obviously, and this has really affirmed our mission now more than ever. And if you just think for a moment or try to imagine being 10 years old or 15 years old or 20 years old and trying to navigate life right now without the support of parents, without the support of families, and that really is just unimaginable. And the pandemic has really heightened the need for family, especially for older kids who are aging out of foster care. And November is National Adoption Awareness Month. And so we are using this time to shine the spotlight on the very urgent need to find families for all kids in foster care. And so your gift has the possibility to make a world of difference because it can provide what all kids need the most, and that's a family. And so I would like to invite you to support us and support our work because we have another very difficult year ahead. So if you would like to make a gift, I'll ask that you would text donate to the number on the screen, or you can go to our website at yougattabelieve.org. And as soon as you go to our website, Willie Garson's National Adoption Awareness Month campaign will pop up right in your face. You can't miss it. And you can make a donation there as well. And so we're just very appreciative to everyone that supports us. We truly can't do it without you, and every dollar counts, whether you donate $5 or $500, everything is appreciated. And so now, for the moment you all have been waiting for, we are so honored to have Willie and Nia join us today. And we're so appreciative of them, not just for tonight, but they have supported YGB for some time now. They have participated in multiple events. They have contributed generously to our fundraising efforts, and they really just embody the mission of You Gotta Believe. And so they've come here today to share the ups and downs of their journey of adopting from foster care. And you all are in for a treat because these are two close friends. They're both hilarious, and they're gonna share a very candid conversation about this personal journey of theirs. And I'll start with introducing Willie. Willie adopted Nathan in 2010. I believe Nathan was 7.5 at the time. And when you hear Willie talk about Nathan and the impact that he's had in his life and how their relationship has grown, if you don't shed a tear when you're listening to this, then you should probably check your pulse because it really is just such a heartwarming and loving story. And not only is Willie an amazing father, he's just become a tremendous advocate and a huge voice for adopting older kids. And specifically for YGB, he's done a ton for us, especially recently. He's joined our board of believers. So Willie, you're stuck with us now. He's also recently done a whole lot of press over this last several weeks. I've lost count of the number of interviews he's done to promote YGB's work and to promote this event. In addition to all that, he actually has a job. Willie is a very accomplished actor, and you've probably seen him in many of your favorite television shows. White Collar, there's Supergirl, there's Hawaii Five-0, there's Sex and the City. There's an upcoming season of Big Mouth that's coming out. So there's many ways to watch Willie do his work. And so with that, I'll finally stop talking and we're gonna bring Willie to the stage. So come on board, Willie.
I wish you just kept talking about me. That would be amazing.
There's so much to say. We're so happy to have you here.
Well, it's great to be here, and I'm happy to do it. And I'm happy to be involved with You Gotta Believe. So just before people get bored and want to leave, just again, even if it's $1, please go to yougotabelieve.org and donate if you can. And if you know anyone who's interested in foster adopting, obviously you can do that there as well. Also, there is a phone number that eventually comes across the screen. You can text to that and donate that way. It's also easy to do that. So just, it's really important, really hard time. A lot of these families need help, and we need getting these kids. Every kid deserves a family, and that's our goal. So do what you can and spread the word what you can about You Gotta Believe before you go burn your dinner.
That's right. Thank you so much, Willie. Before I hand it over to you so you can bring Nia onto the stage, I just want to remind our viewers to drop some questions in the chat during the program, and then we'll get to as many of them as we can on the other side of Willie and Nia's conversation. So I'll see you on the other side, Willie.
All right. Thank you. All right. So write your questions. If you have any questions for Nia or I, let's try to keep them clean. That's hard, I know, but let's try to. Now I'm going to bring on Nia. Now, Nia, you all know, she's incredibly famous. She did 3 sold-out seasons on stage in her wonderful play called Tiny Beautiful Things, which, by the way, I used to dance under that name. It is one of the top 5 most produced plays by Nia Vardalos. That's how good of a writer she is. She also wrote and starred in the number one romantic comedy of all time, which is obviously My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I thought it was Saw, but it's not. It's actually My Big Fat Greek Wedding. She received Academy Award nomination, Writers Guild, Screen Actors Guild nomination. She won the Spirit Award and the People's Choice Award, which is, I've been there, and it's one of the most important ones because it comes from the people. Let's see. She has been in screenwriting and starring roles in I Hate Valentine's Day, Connie and Carla, My Life in Ruins, and co-writer of Larry Crown with Tom Hanks. She's been in Poisoned, Love, which is the best show ever, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and she also has hosted Saturday Night Live. Now, let me tell you something. If they brought back White Collar and Sex and the City, and I ran for 20 seasons, I would never be asked to host Saturday Night Live. So that's amazing. She is a member of Second City in Canada. Have you heard of it? And the United States. Now, she's also very famous, obviously, for writing the best-selling book, Instant Mom, about her journey through adoption. So, well, look, there she is. So we are dear friends, and we're friends through adoption, but also friends outside of that. And it's my honor to have a lovely conversation with my friend, Nia Vardalos. Bring her on.
Willie, you got to come to my house every single day and just say all that to me in the morning as I'm drinking coffee. I would be like, I need a cape and an attitude.
I bet you need me to read it to your daughter at this point because she's just a teenager. And
she just told me what I was wearing was not cool. Just this. She was like, no, that's not cool.
She's not wrong. I was going to say the same thing. Tell me, how old is Ellaria now?
She is a 15-year-old, pretty nice person. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it goes just like that, huh? Yeah, no, she's a lovely human. They're in online school. Remember when we had a pandemic, when we were teenagers? No, we didn't.
We didn't. We were the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a bumpy, I shouldn't tell you this because she's 15. We had a bumpy 16 and 17, and then he came back stronger than ever. So
I think it's good, actually. I think they kind of have to separate from us. It's no fun when it's happening, but I think it's okay. It's okay.
Well, you know, what my producer told me, whenever it's a bad moment, just remember that little person is still in there.
Oh, that's nice.
They're still inside there somewhere.
That's good.
Yeah, listen, I'm sure Mrs. Hitler said the same thing about her child, so who knows? But we try our best.
We try our best through the teen years, everybody. There are so many people from other countries, and I mean from Chile, and I saw someone from Brazil. This is so cool. Oh, from the country of New York City. Welcome.
Now, I want to talk about a couple of things.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if your experience is the same as mine. What's the number one the number one thing that people ask you that's absolutely ridiculous about adoption? Right out of
Did
the
you say
gate?
the number one myth? Because you froze for a second, but you look great when it happened.
Yeah, myth or most ridiculous thing that they have heard about adoption.
I would say the things that I believed were that it was difficult, it was expensive, and that you didn't want to adopt from foster care because it was a bureaucratic nightmare. And it actually, none of these things are true. It's free. Right. It's very simple, and it's not a bureaucratic nightmare at all. If you have what I call an FFA, I mean, what's known as the FFA, the Super Pretty Angels at the foster family agencies, which is,
so great.
A free service in every state, and they'll guide you through it like a grandmother.
I went to a nonprofit agency here in Los Angeles, Westside Children's Center, and my social worker was named Muriel, which is my deceased mother's name. So that was very funny because you don't bump into a lot of Muriels every day. But I'd say for me, the first thing everyone always says is expense, is cost.
Yeah.
Even people in my own family have said, "Oh, we haven't adopted because it's too expensive."
Yeah.
And, my cost for my adoption, I'll just say it. I have a swimming pool, and I had to put a fence around my pool. That was the entire cost of my adoption. It was $1,600. And by the way, the day Nathan moved in, I took the fence out.
Yeah, the myths are unbelievable. And I think this is what I think. Look, we know that fear sells, right? It's clickbait. So if there's one bad adoption story worldwide, that's the story that's going to get printed, right?
Right.
And that's like saying, don't drive a car because there's going to be a car accident.
Right.
So there are bad parenting stories with biological parents, right? So you just have to just say to yourself, this might not be true. Educate yourself. That's why I wrote my book, because, and by the way, I'm not trying to sell books. I donate all the proceeds to get kids adopted. So if you buy the book, it's not going to put a second tier on my swimming pool.
Really? Because I should. It's interesting because people live in stasis. So I find whenever people are talking about foster care or adoption, they're looking for the no. At what point in this process can I say no and just not do it instead of doing it?
Yes.
And so there are all these artificial things. Oh, you know what? My social worker told me that she'd been working for 35 years. And she said, I taught her how to adopt children. And I said, how did I do that? She goes, because you don't care about anything other than what you have to do that day. So you don't get bogged down in, when you go to the parenting classes and they're telling you about this and this and this, and then I see the other people in my parenting class spinning out of control, like what happens, what I have to pick a school, what about a doctor, and what happens if they are burping all the time or whatever. It's like, well, if you need a doctor, you get a doctor. Next.
Yeah.
What's the next thing? Nothing is overwhelming, just one step at a time.
Yeah, well, the amazing thing about gestational babies is that the parents have 9 months to prepare, right?
Correct.
And sometimes with the process of adopting from foster care, by the time you work with a social worker or an FFA social worker or a nonprofit, you actually are going to have a little bit of time. The child is just not placed with you. So you have time to mentally prepare, and you have a social worker saying, who do you see yourself with? And you can say, we have our heart set on a baby. You can say, a teenager. I relate to teenagers. And that way you have time to prepare yourself and find a doctor and get yourself fingerprinted and get your house checked. After I had done all that, from the time, by the way, and the moment that I knew I was going to become a parent is when the social worker said to me, we have 350,000 children in American foster care who are legally emancipated, and 150,000 children who just need a court process to be legally emancipated from their parents. And I said, what's that? I didn't know.
Right.
I thought, where are our orphanages? But we don't have that. We have foster care.
Right.
And so the day she said to me, if you want to do this, you will be a mother within the year.
Interesting.
Amazing. Amazing. And I was 9 months later, 9 months.
So you basically went through gestation. And I know you had an interesting journey in that you tried to get pregnant, which can be very painful for people, the process, and it maybe not going the way they want or the original plan. That's true?
This is what I found. I found it immensely humbling to meet people when I entered the world of adoption. I was immensely shamed to find people who built their family with adoption being their first choice. And so what I went through, which I call a fist fight with Mother Nature, I'm now grateful for, because if that had not happened, I would not have met my real daughter. So when you say it's painful, sure, I would say what people are going through now with the pandemic is much more painful and much more real. So that happened so far in the past that it's a strange feeling now to go, oh, thank God that happened.
Right. Now, how did you meet Ellaria?
It was a long process like yours, and then I'm going to ask you yours. Okay, so I'll tell you mine and you show me yours. I had met with a social worker, and I had met with various people in foster care who told me the numbers, and then went through all the vetting, which is very fun, where a social worker comes over and asks you questions and looks through your house and makes sure that you don't have, a dungeon. And then they fingerprint
your broken glass collection.
Yeah. That's right. And then they fingerprint you and you wait for that to come back. And so, I had gone through the process, and during that process, I'd gone away to make a movie, and I had inquired about several people in children in American foster care. And the social worker would call me and say, this is a child who is part of a sibling set, and it's best that this person is adopted with their siblings. Right. And so you are not the right candidate. Like, she really would guide me. And so then there was a little girl, and she got adopted, and I had been waiting a long time to find out any information about her. I knew nothing about her, just had seen the back of her head. And I was in Spain, and I was filming, and I was walking down the pier crying so hard. It looked like, I read in my book, it looked like I'd just been dumped by a Spaniard. And I was just like, just sheets of water coming out of my face. And I was looking up to heaven and thinking, when will I be a mother? And as I walked down this pier, this little girl was walking toward me with, I think, her grandparents, and she took my hand. And I passed her, and we looked at each other. And I am telling you that her face was saying, soon. And weeks later, the phone rang. There's a little girl. She is almost 3 years old. She is living with loving parents in American foster care. I said, when can we meet her? And they said, tomorrow. And that's Ellaria.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's intense. And you knew the second you saw her. Like,
oh my God! The second we drove to a parking area, and there were she was in a social worker's arms. And as we walked, there were lots of people in the parking area. And as we walked toward them, I saw a little brown-haired girl, and she turned around and looked right at me. And the only thing I could think was, "Oh, I found you."
Amazing.
That's my baby.
What a feeling that is. It's an unbelievable feeling.
Yeah. Okay, tell me, I know your story, but I'm going to interview you talk show style. So I remember when we first started talking about this, you were working with, what's the name of your agency?
Which agent?
The nonprofit.
Well, I had been raising money for the Alliance for Children's Rights here in Los Angeles.
Yes.
And I had a long relationship, and she never wanted to have children, which is fine. And when that was over, I was like, I really want a kid. I've always been a kid guy. I was a big brother for Big Brothers of America. I was a camp counselor. I helped raise my nephews, blah, blah, blah. And I realized I really wanted that more than anything, more so than a wife. And I called up the Alliance for Children's Rights, and I said, what if I wanted to do it? And they said, well, you can do it. And they sent me to Westside Children's Center, and I started the process.
Will you describe the process for people listening? How you they have picnics?
Yeah. So I went there. They said, come in and meet with us. I told them that I'm thinking of adopting, and they said, well, if you're thinking about it, then start it. And it's not, you're not signing anything in blood right now. It's so then I started. I think is it 30 hours or 40 hours?
It depends on the state, actually. Let's say 40.
Okay, it was 40 maybe in California, but whatever. It was once a week, and it was fun. There was all these people there, and it's funny. A lot of the people in my parenting class were older, who had raised children of their own 20 years ago, and now wanted to become foster parents. And they all said the same thing. They're like, God, I wish I had been forced to take classes when I became a parent. When I got pregnant, I wish someone made me take classes, because it's like, it really covers everything that gives you a real head start.
We'll tell people what it covers. For example, it covers, you decide which religion you might raise your child with. You decide on what your values are, and you have discussions about it. You get to take a CPR class, which is incredible, which, by the way, my daughter choked basically within the first 6 months. And if I had not taken that class, I would not have known what to do. So these are very valuable things. You get someone who walks through your home and says, that is an open wall. That up. It's not, so I found it not invasive.
No, it's something that no birth parent gets.
Yeah.
It's like, this is how you become a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, they should, in a perfect world, in like, I guess someplace perfect, like Denmark or Singapore, they should make sure that everyone has to take the classes. But it's funny because women are much more introspective than men, and it's interesting, the story that you told, because I had gone through the process, and then I was kind of waiting, and I was very specific. Like, I wanted around 5 years old, and I wanted free and clear, that there was no way, 0% chance that a child placed with me was going to be taken away, which is impossible for them to guarantee. They can go 99%, and then all of a sudden some junkie uncle shows up and they want the kid, they can get the kid. So it's they try to be. So I was waiting and waiting, and I got a job, and I was in Colombia, and I went walking with my friends, my new friends in the cast. We went walking on a Sunday up the big mountain in Bogota. I think, is it called Montserrat, maybe? Anyway, we're going up the mountain, and this little boy with the biggest smile, Colombian, attached himself to me. He probably wanted money. That's fine. But he wanted to go up the mountain with me. And he was chattering away, practicing his English, and he was holding my hand. And when I think in retrospect, when I eventually got Nathan, that kid looked a lot like Nathan. And that was like Nathan's doppelganger, was this kid taking me up the mountain.
It's like a spirit.
I bought him an ice cream.
Yeah, I love that story. I just think that there are messages, I think, in the universe, and I think we don't hear them until we're ready. Like, my best friend was telling me, she has 2 biological children, and she was telling me, that's not what makes you a mom. Giving birth is not the thing. And I think she said that to me for years of me trying to be a mom, but one day I heard it.
It's interesting. Soon after Nathan moved in, he came to me. We had a very difficult time at the beginning because I was traveling, and it was killing me. So I was commuting to New York. If I had one night off, literally, I would fly home.
Yeah.
So I was there were weeks when I flew back and forth to New York 3 times in 1 week, and it was rough. But after like the 3rd or 4th trip, Nathan was fine, and he said to me, he goes, we're fine, because when you say you're coming home, you come home. And he got it. And then I was home, and in the middle of the night, you know what they think about, you never know what they're thinking about in their room, So he comes to me in the middle of the night. He was obviously up thinking. He comes and he takes my arm, wakes me up, and he goes, listen, I love Nathan. He's such a straight shooter. He goes, listen, I have something to tell you. It was my birth mom, foster families, social workers, therapists, they all tell kids that they love them all the time. You do it.
Oh, wow.
And then he walked out of the room. You don't even know what to do with that. Like,
No.
This is what you're thinking about? I want you thinking about Gumby, but instead he's thinking these deep thoughts, and he was right. And that's exactly what your friend is saying. Love.
Just love.
It's corny, but love is love. And that's all anyone's looking for or actually needs. So.
Right. And talking about the work that You Gotta Believe does with children who are older and are adopted as teens or up to 18 years old or more, as Sia did, people think, well, I want firsts, right? I want to teach them to ride a bike. I want to do this. But when you meet your child, everything you do with them will be the first.
Of course.
Time. So it doesn't matter what the age is. And that's why I love the work that You Gotta Believe does. And again, if anyone has a phone and you just want to text $1, I'm telling you that you will go to heaven because you are going to get a child adopted.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I did try to put a diaper on Nathan when he was 8. It didn't go well, but I wanted to have that experience of diapering myself. Now he's going to be putting me in diapers, so
that's fair.
I wanted to ask you, hold on, what is one thing that you wish someone had told you that they didn't tell you?
About parenting?
Yeah.
That it's okay. My mom said, it's okay to make mistakes. And that was after I became a parent. And before I adopted, I kept thinking, I wanted everything to be perfect. I wanted to be the perfect parent. And, there are so many slogans. You don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent. I love that too. So I cut myself some slack for laying in the dark, sleep deprived, with my daughter insisting on sleeping on me, and tears were just like streaming into my ears because I thought, I suck. I don't think I'm supposed to be in this room and letting her sleep on me. But
God.
In the end, whatever you do to get them ready for preschool, you did, and then you're perfect. You did do it right.
It's interesting. I remember when the first night I had him, which is before moving in. He just spent a night here on a weekend, and he was in the other room. I put him in front of a movie, and he's really little, and he's sitting in this massive couch in a house that he doesn't know. And I went I called my old girlfriend. I'm like, what the hell did I just do? I have no idea what I'm doing. And she said, well, you could go watch the movie with him. It was very just work it out,
Yeah.
The thing I wish someone told me was to listen to your child, that it is innate minds of such value. Early on, he came to me in the middle of the night again, screaming in anguish and pain. His earache. I'm like, Nathan, it's nothing. Lie down. I'm like rubbing his back, and I had eardrops. Let me give you an eardrop, and you're going to be fine. Quiet down. Then it was horrible. So I'm like, I'm thinking like I'm just like the worst parent. I'm like, he just wants attention. You want attention, whatever. Okay, come in my bed. Blah, blah, blah. Screaming. Like, all right, now it's going to be a punishment. All right, we're going to go to the emergency room. That's where people go when they have emergencies. And surely I put on my bathrobe. I pick him up. I'm like, Yep, that's what you get. We're going to go to the emergency room. We go to the emergency room. He's wailing the whole time. Get him on the table. The doctor comes in and he takes a tweezer, a forceps, and he goes in his ear and takes out a piece of wax, literally the size of a golf ball. And he's like, you have no idea what that feels like against your inner ear. You have no idea. It's literally like someone's cutting through your brain with a chainsaw. And I look over, he takes it out, it comes out, and I look over, Nathan in 1 second is like, and I thought, if your kid tells you he's in pain, they're probably in pain. Like, don't help them. You know?
It's hard to know. It's hard. My thing, when you say listen to your children, I remember this. It's not about pain, but I was walking down the street with Ellaria and she found a rock that had gradations in it of time, So I thought, ooh, I'll explain to her how a rock is made. And she went like this, listen, and pointed up and you could hear the faintest bird chirping. Yeah. Much more important than this is how a rock is formed.
I did get sad. Nathan spent a longer time in my bed than the other kids his age.
Yeah.
So it was getting to be like, 9, 10, 11. And I was getting concerned, and to the point where I would say, okay, Nathan, let's try and go, 2 nights. Then let's try and go 3 nights and whatever. And then one day, I need to know what stinky friend of his had this conversation with him. But then one day it just stopped. And that was it forever. And I was not prepared for that.
No, it's hard.
I didn't get gently let down. I got harshly broken up with. The point where there were times when, as a teenager, there were times when he would be sick or something. I'm like, I'm right across the hall. If you ever need to come in and you just want to lie down and close your eyes, that's fine too. Never happened again once the day was decided.
So how old is he now, by the way? 17 or 18?
19.
What?
Yeah.
Is he in college?
He is.
In college or online at home?
At college, they opened up. They opened up half and half. Then they closed down. So he was in his room going to college, his dorm, and now I think they've opened up a couple of things. But for me, it's a small town, small college. For me, it was more important for him to be there. Even if he has a single, so even if he's in his dorm room, he's still seeing people. They're outside playing frisbee, or they're seeing each other outside for meals.
Yeah.
It's being in the environment.
I agree.
Has value.
Yeah, I agree. I think we can do it in masks, careful.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And so hold on. Do you want more questions?
Yeah. I like it when we both answer.
Okay. What is Jesus? I mean, I want to talk more about what some people say, that they're worried that kids from foster care are somehow damaged.
Yeah, that is something that people have said that to me. And in a way, it's okay because I wrote a book and welcomed that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's okay to ask a question that is really quite harsh, because if you're ready to listen to the answer that no, of course they're not any more damaged than you and me and you who just asked me that question while I'm pushing my child on a swing out loud. You're pretty damaged, lady. But okay, now you've asked it. So if you're ready to hear the answer, of course not. And to hear the answer that there are programs available for therapy. There are group therapies available for kids who have come from foster care. There are a lot of outreach programs. And for me, I think talking is good and it's out there, but I don't sugarcoat it in my book. It was rough at first.
Right.
Now it's not. Just like anything,
Exactly.
anything.
I mean, mine was trust. He just didn't trust anyone, which he shouldn't.
Right.
And then he learned to trust that he had someone he could trust.
Yeah.
And that can happen at any age. I met Nathan at an adoption fair, which is a very difficult place. They set it up. Only those who've been vetted and licensed already can go. So I'm single, so I couldn't bring anyone with me. And you're walking around, and all these kids are up for adoption. And it was brutal. And there were 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds there who've been to 100 adoption fairs. And they're going to age out of the system and not have, if nothing else, a place to go for Thanksgiving. Or someone to call for advice. Or someone to say, I love you, and mean it. And it killed me. Going to that adoption fair killed me. I got in the car. I met Nathan there, so God bless it. But I got in the car. I burst out crying uncontrollably, probably for a half hour.
Yeah.
And I called my social worker and I said, I met my kid. Get me that kid. That's my kid. And it was a Saturday. And she said, I'll get into it on Monday. And she called me Monday and said, there's a problem. 7 families wanted Nathan. So then it took as long as it took, almost 2 months, for them to meet his social worker, meet with all the separate social workers, and with the files and everything, and figure out who they wanted to move ahead with. And somehow I was chosen, but I easily could not have been chosen. I mean, I'm sure the other families were not junky. But it's amazing. But that thing of damaged children, one of my favorite movies is called The Night of the Hunter. Amazing movie. It's the only movie that Charles Lawton ever directed. And Lillian Gish is in it. And she's this woman who takes in wayward children. And she has this lovely monologue towards the end of the movie. And she's just right into the camera and this beautiful soft lighting. And she says, children endure. They endure and they abide. That's what they do. I'm tearing up thinking about it because they are, they bounce. Children bounce. And they need family to give them a chance to bounce.
Absolutely. And if people are watching this and they think, okay, I can't adopt a child. I can't. Well, here's what you can do. You can.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you can or not.
Exactly. You can volunteer with these organizations. You can tell a kid that they matter. You can sit down with somebody. She's about to graduate from high school and has never filled out an application to get an apartment. You can help people write college essays. You can just go and serve pizza and a meal and just look people in the eye and let them know that they matter. There are a million things that you can do, which, by the way, is the most important thing that I have found time to do with my daughter, which is volunteerism. Just to give back, give back to the universe who brought me my daughter. It's a way, I think, of you can feel useful. And I think we need that in this life. I think it's a moment of connection with an absolute stranger. Okay, right now we're a little bit isolated. So we could pick up our phones and donate this $1 or 10 or 10,000 or the price of, if you think, how much did I just spend on coffee this week at the takeout? How much did I spend? Just multiply that by 7 and just put it into a text. And you've just taken care of a child.
And we ask you, it's interesting. Nathan was so mad because he's a teenager. So when he was home for lockdown, I'm with an organization. We make lunch for homeless people every Sunday. So we make 10 lunches, we drop it off, and then they're distributed around the city with many other people. So my group did 5,000 lunches last week. So, but Nathan was home and he was sleeping, and I didn't wake him up, and he was so angry at me because I've instilled in them. All adoptive families do this, by the way. We give back, and we teach them how to embrace the universe that has embraced us.
Yeah, I realized, again, going into the world of adoption and the community and the kindness and the goodness and the people looking each other in the eye and looking for a connection of, oh, yes, I know someone who has been looking to connect with a teen girl. And then it's a constant network and people talking. It's like a bunch of Greeks in the kitchen. It's great. And you need it. You need it.
Now listen, before I bring Jennifer back in for some questions, I do want to just reiterate what you basically just said. Text the number, even if it's $1 or if it's $100,000. I'll like you a little more if it's $100,000, but I'll love you anyway if it's $1. So text it in or go to yougotabelieve.org. And Nia just made a really good point. You might know someone who might be interested, and there's nothing wrong with checking it out. No one says you have to do it. And if you're looking for volunteer opportunities, if you're not that interested in adopting yourself, but you want to volunteer, You Gotta Believe can steer you in the right direction too.
Yes.
So yougotabelieve.org or the number right there, 718 Long Island, 865-2425, 718-865-2425. So I'm going to bring Jennifer back in, and she's going to help us out with some questions from people watching.
Awesome.
Here I am. Wow, so many gems, you all. Thank you for just sharing your journey. And there are a couple of notes. I'm over here making copious notes. And had my mic been on, you would have heard my one woman amen choir, because everything you said was just so powerful. Willie, I love how you just let people know that if they're interested in becoming parents, that it's just one step at a time. You don't have to figure it all out the first time you enter the class. It'll work out. And Nia, when you talked about people who hesitate adopting an older child because they want the firsts, and saying that everything you do with that child, no matter what age you adopt them, it will be the first time. So I love that you said that. And in the course of the conversation, you all have raised for us almost $7,000 just in these last few minutes. So
yes.
So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Willie and Nia, for donating. And let's get to our questions. The chat is lighting up. We're going to start with Caitlin in Washington, D.C. Hey, Caitlin. She says that she's found the training process to be overwhelming. What guidance can you offer?
Caitlin, where did you say you are?
She's in D.C.
Say it again, sorry.
In Washington, D.C.
Okay, so Caitlin, here's what I'm going to suggest to you. I want you to Google Foster Family Agency in Washington, D.C. This is a free service. If you found the process overwhelming, what you need is someone to just hold your hand a little bit, and a social worker can do that. If you cannot find that, I want you to DM me on Instagram, even though I hate DMs, and I'm going to find you, okay? And I'm going to connect you with an FFA. They make it easier, and it's free.
And also, let me just say, Caitlin, this is exactly what I was talking about, how my social worker said I taught her how to do adoption. Like they have to cover everything at the orientation. Of course, it's overwhelming. This is what I say. Ignore it. When they tell you, when you get down to the process, tomorrow you have to get your car inspected. Then get your car inspected tomorrow. Hand in the form and say, okay, what's next? Don't let the overview kill you. It's almost like when we went through college orientations, or the tours of all the colleges with my kid. It's like, oh my God, my kid is not going to be in the Quidditch club. Like, I mean, it's like on and on and on. All these things are just too much. So don't let it be too much. That's up to you.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So, and
before you read another one, Jennifer, I can see it's very small writing, but my stepbrother, Philip Schiffman, wrote a comment. God bless you.
Is that you?
It says, from Philip Schiffman, as an adopted son and father of 2 adopted boys, who I love very much, this resonates to my core. Everyone deserves a forever home. God bless you, Philip. I love you. God.
Thank you, Philip. That's great. All right. So we had a lot of folks in the chat. They mentioned that the home visit seems intimidating. Do you remember your home visit process, and do you have any advice to sort of get through that?
It is intimidating, and it's just because we're human beings and we worry that people are going to see that our Tupperware is a mess and has the orange stain in it because we microwaved tomato sauce, and we're therefore bad parents. But I'm telling you, that if you have nothing to hide, they're not there to discredit you. They're there to make sure that this is going to work. So just open up your home. It's like someone coming to visit. It'll be okay.
Perfect. What about Willie? Do you remember anything from your home visit? Any advice for folks who are intimidated by it?
I remember it was like I felt like I was selling my home. Like isn't this room great? Look at this great couch, right? Like, and then only once did Muriel drop in, like during the drop in unannounced. But I think they figure, this is their job. They're looking at people. They're good at reading people, almost as good as actors are. They're good at reading people, and they know that you're okay or you're not okay.
They absolutely do. I mean, I wanted to put on such a good impression. Like, I almost put on a Victorian petticoat and baked, churned my butter. Like, I was trying so hard. And in the end, they just want you to be you. And that's exactly what I realized after 7 minutes of sweating all the way down my back.
It's very interesting because Nathan has a sister. He has two sisters who are adopted by his uncle. And but Nathan and one of his sisters were almost adopted years ago when he was like 4. And the social worker, who was still his social worker when I met him, flew with them to Montana. And Montana has different records, closed records or something. And they went to the house and she was like, nah, something's
She had a
not
bad feeling.
Mm-hmm.
right. And she went to the local courthouse and she looked up the records, and of course they had priors, and her instinct was correct, and they flew home.
They're super, I'm telling you, social workers, super pretty angels.
Mm-hmm.
They're friggin' heroes. Heroes.
Heroes, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, we have a question from Constance. What are some recommendations you both have to bring comfort to a youth who is new to your home? Let's start with you, Nia.
My daughter was almost 3, so I would say, just from the advice of now being the parent of a teenager, it is a lot of listening and less questions. It's more like, I'm going to make mac and cheese, but not saying, do you like mac and cheese? Because you'll just get, yeah. Right?
Right.
And eventually, overcooking or something, things will come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think listening to these kids.
Yeah, that's true. Remember what they say, and judge their reaction to things. Like, if you put green beans on the plate and he's pushing them away, like pay attention to it. Much more so than my parents paid attention, for sure. And you see, they want you to like them, so they want to say yes. So be careful about asking too many questions. Mm-hmm. Let them be the guide of where they're going. Listen, I just was watching Queen's Gambit,
mm-hmm.
and they bring the daughter home to the house, and she walks into her room, and she turns to the mother and goes, "This whole room is mine?"
She did.
And she's like, yeah. So there's a lot of that going on with them. So you have to realize, give them a soft landing rather than overwhelm them with stuff. Listen, my kid had never been anywhere and done anything. And I was working with a charity. The week after he moved in with me, we were on a friggin' Gulfstream 5 going to Aspen. To talk about blowing this kid's head out of the water. And he was like, all he wanted was a lollipop. It was like, it was so ridiculous. It's like, so I definitely made some mistakes at the beginning.
That's fantastic advice. All right, we have a couple more questions. Here's one from Caitlin. She says, can you talk a little bit about the rough parts at the beginning and how you got through them while respecting your child's privacy, of course? Nia, would you like to start with that one?
Caitlin, I'm really candid. As I said in my book, my daughter did not sleep. And as Willie says, this was a good thing, because what she was doing is protecting herself like a soldier in a foxhole. And I really admired her. And what we did, I describe in the book, is we put a mattress beside her bed. This was on the advice of a social worker, a sleep therapist that we went to. The mattress was beside the bed. And after, in the span of a year, my daughter, an inch at a time, was responsible for moving the mattress away from her bed until she was ready for it to go away completely. But either I or her dad slept on that mattress for over a year. And that's okay. It was all right. It was comfy.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. Mine was trust. It was like, whenever I was leaving, he would be such an asshole that it was like, oh my God. And what I was doing, so we had just, I felt you don't time these things, especially in my business. We don't time what happens. So White Collar had just started production in New York, and it meant nothing to him that I was going there. So we made, with my social worker, we made a plan at 7 o'clock every night. I will FaceTime with him when I'm in New York, and I'd be in the middle of a take, and I would literally say, I'm sorry, I need 5 minutes. And they would let me go talk to my kid. And I took it a step further, and I don't care if you're a plumber, if you're a janitor, if you're a doctor, a nurse, I highly recommend this. The second I could, I grabbed him and took him to New York, and I put him on White Collar. I wrote a line for him, and he shot a scene with me in White Collar. So then he went home. He had ownership of what I do for a living and what that is. So that it wasn't just, oh, daddy's leaving because he has to work. Now he knows, oh, and he was there, and they shoot the camera, and all the people were there, and those nice makeup women. Like he had ownership of it. And if you're a plumber, take your kid with you. If you're, whatever, like, have them ownership to be a part of your family.
Yeah, yeah. But when Ellaria started preschool, remember how they start at school, Willie, where they say, you can stay for a bit, and then when they're ready for you to go, and I was like, well, this is a unique situation. I better just be there. So I booked out of work for 2 months, and I went to preschool on the first day, and she saw just a mountain of kids and toys and turned to me and said, you can go now. I
took him to Maine. I'm a huge believer in summer camp. And I took him to Maine because I'm shooting in New York. It was summer. What am I going to do with him? So he was 8. And I'm like, you're going to go to camp for 2 weeks. You're going to love it. No, kicking and screaming. You hate me. You want to give me back. So literally 11-hour drive from New York to Maine. We get to camp, and it's like he's screaming and crying. We get to the camp. We take his bags. We go down to the cabin, and I'm going to help him unpack. He looks around, and there's kids, and everyone's happy and smiling. 5 minutes. He turns to me and goes, you can go.
I know. Kids.
I just want to say something. Someone did comment how important, we're talking a lot about adoption, but foster care is also equally important. And that's a real gateway for people who listen, I have whatever's coming up in my life. I have 2 years to give to foster a child and give them a home and make them feel that. They'll have that in them for the rest of their life as well.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Incredible amount of value.
And I did meet people who were willing to go through the process. 150,000 of the children who are not legally emancipated. There are so many people who go, yeah, and so this person needs a home. I'm going to go through court. And if they're supposed to be matched again with their biological parents, I'm going to support that.
Right.
And it's an amazing world of people who are doing the right thing.
Yeah. Right. Well, guys, I just want to say something. We have 5 minutes left. We're $2,000 away from $10,000. So that's literally 100 people of $20. It's 50 people of $40. It's one person of 2,000. So text 718-865-2425 or go to yougotabelieve.org. And let's get the 10,000 before I sign off and make my sad dinner alone.
Yes, we're almost there. Sakina says Willie should write a book with his son.
Willie's writing a narcissistic book about his acting career, so never mind.
I do want to share a comment. There's so many just kind comments in the chat. Constance says, I'm a former foster youth advocate and child welfare employee, and she went on to become a kinship foster adoptive parent. And she has so much appreciation for you for bringing awareness and showing love for kids.
God bless.
That's very sweet. I also want to say one thing that people don't aware. There's a lot of organizations out there.
That's right.
I'm involved with 3 of them. What's amazing about You Gotta Believe, every single person who works at You Gotta Believe is either a former foster adoptive child themselves or a foster adoptive parent. 100% of the employees of You Gotta Believe. That's unheard of anywhere else.
We have credible messengers on staff who walk the walk and talk the talk and provide all the support that we need. Our folks work literally around the clock. Phone calls 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, they're picking it up. So thank you for saying that, Willie.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
One more. Oh, go ahead, Nia.
I was just scrolling to the chat. It's just so much love, you guys. Thank you. Thank you for giving us love. We're giving it right back to you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Really nice.
Amy says, because family is everything we need, especially to help kids who are aging out. You got to believe in these kids.
What's the number? It's 26,000 kids age out.
Let's explain to people what that is. So this is why, Willie, I think it's amazing that you're on the board now because your son is 19. So what you're trying to do is fantastic, which is to stop kids from what's called age out of the process. That means at a certain age, they no longer can live in foster care. They don't get the benefits that they had, and they're almost turfed on the street. There are programs, of course, like what You Gotta Believe does, where they can help them get a job, get an apartment, find a way through this world, and also have a place to come back to, a community center, a place that tells them that they matter. It's like we're all just a fabric, actually a thread in the fabric of the society. And the more that we can just cover each other with this quilt and keep each other warm, and that's what's incredible what you're doing, Willie. And I just really appreciate what you're doing by being on the board and saying, I mean, we've been friends a long time. This is the most serious we've ever been and talked about what we've both been through. So anybody
you're wearing clothing, it's a different thing.
Just for today, But yeah, just if you just want to pick up your phone and text, you can help a kid make it through this world, especially right now during the pandemic. We're all home. Some of us are quite cozy in our homes, and a lot of these kids don't have that. So I just so appreciate anyone who's donated $1. By the way, if you've donated $1, I know that $1 is sacred to you, and I appreciate that very, very much.
Correct.
And if you donated $100,000, come be my friend. That means you have money.
Right. It means you have more to give. Yeah.
Willie, Nia, thank you so much. Are there any last words you want to say before we let you go?
I just talked, so Willie, you go.
Well, I just feel during this time more than any other time in all of our existence, we've learned the importance of taking care of each other.
That's right.
This is the ultimate example of taking care of each other because you're taking care of it for the next generation. And you know, all the slogans that we have, every child deserves a family, is true. Everyone deserves a family. You Gotta Believe have worked with 26-year-olds. Everyone deserves a family. So let's help people get there, whether it's local, national, whether you do it with your vote, whether you do it with your pocketbook, or whether you do it hands-on. Like, just absolutely take care of each other. This is what we're doing here.
Perfect. Willie, Nia, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks for coming.
And thank you to our viewers. Thank you for submitting the questions and all for the kind comments in our comment section. And so one last time, we want to ask that you donate, text donate to the number on the screen, or you can go to our website at yougotabelieve.org. Let's try to get to 10,000 tonight. I know we're almost there. It's still National Adoption Awareness Month. We're going to be celebrating this for the entire month of November. Do not forget to pick up Nia's book, Instant Mom. Proceeds go to adoption organizations. So this is also helping the cause. And free things you can do. You can we'll send the link to the recording of this. You can share this with your friends. You can repost our social media. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. We also have some guidance to show you of where your dollars will go when you donate. Anywhere from $25 will get food for a child, parent matching event, all the way up to $5,000 for everything that's needed to certify a new parent, which includes training classes and materials and the time that it takes to train everyone to get through it. And so we need your help because every gift counts. In addition to that, do not forget to sign up for our newsletter. You can go to our website and do that as well, or drop your email in the chat and we'll get you signed up. And one more time, we want to thank our sponsors, Charter Communications, A&E Networks, Neuberger Berman, Carlson Resources. We could not have done this event without all of you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Have a good night.